What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 3 of the MindTalks podcast. Today we have on the mind behind MMA Shredded, 245,000 subscribers on YouTube, and a professional fighter for 1FC. So without further ado, let's get on Mr. Jeff Chan. Jeff, what's up, man? Can you hear me okay?
Hey, yes, I can hear you.
All right, perfect. I got you.
Perfect. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, good. What time is it? Where are you located again?
I'm in Wisconsin right now. It's
Okay.
8:04.
Okay, so you're just an hour behind me.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So, something I wanted to kick off with because I found it pretty interesting. I was
hmm
listening to a podcast you did with somebody else, and you were
hmm
talking about how you wanted to be the next Faraz Sahabi.
hmm
How, coaching is sort of your bigger vision, your bigger goal that you have. So,
Yep.
why don't you talk a little bit about that and when your mindset started to go more towards coaching?
Okay, I'd first start off by saying that I never intended to fight uh, to begin with. I've always kind of trained just for fun.
Mhm.
I enjoy being a martial artist. I enjoy um, every aspect of training, but I never really enjoyed the fighting. And when I say the fighting, I'm talking about the weight cut, the training for a fight, and the actual fighting. Um, they say like in a fight, you only use like 10% of what you actually know or can, or 10% of your actual ability. And yeah, whenever I'm fighting, and I guess I've had close to about 30 fights now, if you're including amateur and professional fights. Every single fight I've had, it was kind of like I'm in the ring. I'm here now. I just got to do it. But whenever I'm in the ring, it's like it's not so fun. It's not as relaxed as sparring. Uh, so with that said, I just love the process of training, stress free. But when it comes to fighting, there's just too much to stress about.
So, it's sort of
And
like a get it over.
get over with, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I made this decision, and then as I step into the ring, I'm like, why did I decide I'd fight again? And I guess one fight kind of just leads you to the next one, and that's where I'm at right now. On the other hand, I've always enjoyed teaching, and that's why I started this channel. I started this channel in 2016, so it's been about 4 years now. And I just genuinely love teaching, and I started the YouTube channel because I can reach much more people than the actual amount of people in my gym. Of course, I like teaching in person as well, and yeah, that's basically it.
So to go back to the fighting, the whole sort of get it over with kind of thing, do you think that do you use it as sort of a test of your skills? Like, you gather all this knowledge, you put out all these videos about what Dominic Cruz does, how these guys do it. Like, do you take all that and think like, okay, let's test this out and see how it works in the cage? And is that why you're still fighting, you think, and you haven't made the jump to coach yet?
Um, I am I am coaching currently, uh, but of course I'm also a fighter myself, and I'm also trying to improve my own training. And I don't currently own my own gym, and that's why I don't call myself a coach at the time. Besides my online platform, but one day when I do settle down and open up my own gym, I'd like to focus solely on teaching. Whereas right now I'm still fairly young, and I may or may not have a fight coming up next. So as a martial artist with a martial artist mindset, I'm looking to improve every day as much as I can, and that requires a lot of sparring. And while my body is fairly young and can handle the sparring.
Yeah. So, you started your YouTube in 2016, you said.
Mhm.
So that's 4 years. How do you think your goals have changed from like the beginning? So 2016, you just started your YouTube channel compared to now. How do you think your goals have changed, not only with the YouTube channel, but just in general?
It changed quite a bit. I mean, I started the channel just as a hobby with no expectations. I started it wanting to help others, but I didn't expect it to grow as big as it is now.
Mhm.
And at the time, I was focused on law enforcement, so I was probably putting in like 90% of my time into law enforcement. I was working full time, volunteering, studying while doing this channel, and then uh, hit a point where law enforcement wasn't working out for me, and the channel was seeing some growth. And then I decided that I would put my full effort into the channel. And once I put all my time into the channel, I saw even more growth, and that led me to kind of just leaving law enforcement completely and just putting all my time into the channel. And now I was able to do something that I love doing for a living. That's where I'm at right now. And obviously, with the channel, that gave me the opportunity to get signed with one championship. And now I'm hosting camps around the world doing what I love.
Did you have a good support system behind you when you decided to make that jump from law enforcement to like full time with the channel and training, and or is it sort of like a convincing process like, okay, I know this is a risk and but I'm going to take it, and did you kind of have to like um sort of prove yourself almost in a way, or were they just like, okay, let's do it, I'll help you? Like what was that around you like?
So my situation was actually different. I went through a very crazy situation, which I'm not quite ready to share yet.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
fine.
was actually forced to leave law enforcement, and I was forced to depend on the only thing I had, which was my channel. Which even at the time I think I had like 15,000 subscribers, something very small.
Mhm.
Um, and basically, the situation led me to like I had nothing left. I didn't have my job, and the only thing I could really rely on is this YouTube channel. And I'm like, it's all in or not at all.
Yeah.
And then I decided that I would go in, and my family and everyone around me knew my situation, so uh, I guess they did support me because that was the only thing I had.
Yeah.
And then I just focused all my time into the channel.
Yeah. So would you say that these like last 4 years have brought you sort of like a sense of clarity almost, like now that you know that you're on a set path and you have what you wanted, like you're building on what you want. You're building on that dream that you had of just, having martial arts and, eventually leading into coaching, and you're already starting to branch out into coaching. So you think it's just sort of brought you like a sense of like, okay, I'm comfortable with where I'm at. I know we're going up. Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I know exactly what I hope to do. Of course, there's still a lot of unknowns, especially with the online business. It's still new. It's something that I'm looking to keep online, but eventually I do want to open up my own gym.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Do you have any places in mind for the gym? Will you keep it? You're from Canada, right? You're in
I'm in
Canada.
I'm in I'm in Canada. I'm born and raised in Ottawa.
Mhm.
I'd like to stay in Ottawa, but my fiance does not want to stay in Ottawa. So we might be moving out west. We might be moving to Montreal. We might even move to the States. We really don't know. So there's a lot of unknowns right now, especially with COVID. I wouldn't
Mhm.
even be in Ottawa if it wasn't for COVID-19. I'd probably be in Montreal still.
Yeah, because you
But
train out of TriStar, correct?
I was at TriStar for my last fight camp, and
Mhm.
I was going to head back, but then all gyms closed down due to COVID-19. And I'm sure people are still training and all, but it's not official. So
Yeah.
I decided I'd head back to Ottawa, my hometown, where I'm more comfortable. And I'm kind of just waiting for things to go back to normal. But in the meantime, I'm still making content and still doing my thing.
So is that like, do you have sort of a set timeline for the gym, or is there like a point you want to reach with something before you start it, or are you just waiting for that right time? What's sort of your mindset going into it?
I would say maybe 3 to 5 years. And
Mhm.
the reason why I say 3 to 5 years is because I'm still competing, or I'm waiting for the next call at least. So
Yeah.
it's hard to open up a gym while you're still fighting.
Hmm.
My online business is doing well, so I also like to keep online and have the opportunities to travel as much as I can before I settle down. Because if I open up a gym, then it's going to be hard for me to travel.
Yeah.
I still have a lot of plans to host camps around the world and visit other gyms and vlog my training, which is the one thing I love doing.
Yeah. We love watching it. So.
Thank you.
Speaking of the YouTube, so I think what I've noticed and what a lot of your fans notice, and a reason you have such a big following is like you have a great way of explaining techniques to where everybody, regardless if you've been doing it for 20 years or if you've been doing it for 2 weeks, they can understand the concept of what you're sort of putting out. And I think that's huge. I think it's awesome that you're able to do that. What do you think that that's come from another place? Like, have you always been a good speaker? Have you always been good at breaking things down, or does it just come naturally? Do you see it with when you're breaking down a technique? Do you even realize it? Like, how
Um,
is your process of explaining those techniques and breaking them down?
I would say I'm actually a terrible speaker. Like when I'm like filming my intros, I gotta like repeat them.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but when it comes to teaching, I think it's come natural. I think striking has come natural for me in general.
Mhm.
Um, and I think what made my channel stand out is because I really believe in authenticity and using my sparring footage to teach.
Mhm.
Like when I first started the channel, and I've always watched YouTube like since the beginning, and
Yeah.
I've noticed that there are a lot of other YouTube martial artists out there who teach martial arts, and they kind of teach just a demonstration. And at that time, before I even competed and such, I would think like, does it actually work? Or I would watch the demonstration, then I try to do it in my own sparring, and it just doesn't work at all. And that made me realize that there's so many techniques out there that don't work. And I don't know if you follow a page called McDojo, where they teach just they
Yeah.
show it's just all like fake martial arts, and
Yeah.
I'm very scared of that. Like I don't want anyone to ever think that I'm a McDojo. So um, I've decided that all my tutorials would be based off real sparring, and I only teach things that work for me.
Yeah. That's
And
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say a lot of the times when I'm sparring and I, throw my go-to combinations, a lot of that come out naturally, and I don't even know what I'm doing until I watch my own sparring, and then I'll break down what I'm doing and what I'm thinking after the fact. Whereas in the moment, I don't even know what I'm doing until I slow it down and slowly drag the cursor and see what I'm doing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so like, that is something that definitely makes you stand out is that you're like really the only tutorial I don't say tutorial page, but like, people that put out like breakdowns that show when it doesn't work. You always show in sparring when it doesn't work. And it gives people like a sense of like, because a lot of times if you're on Instagram and you only see these people hitting the move like every time you see it on video and you don't go and do it, you sort of get an unrealistic expectation or
Yeah,
like, look down at yourself and, seeing like, okay, Jeff didn't do this combo, like it's fine if I don't land it every single time. And
exactly.
it gives people more like a sense of comfortability, like they know that they don't have to get it because it's not some magic move that they can get, and
Exactly.
that's
That
yeah, I
that was
think
very well explained. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
thank you. It's awesome to see. It's really cool.
Yeah, and the thing is, every technique that I try, like right now, I'm working on foot sweeps,
Hmm.
and
Yeah, so
but the thing is, you guys so far have only seen the successful attempts, but like I when I make an actual tutorial of it, you'll see how many times I've failed it. Like so many times that it's actually funny. Like me trying to sweep and then like I fall on my ass because I missed the leg,
hmm.
and it just shows people that you don't need to be the best or you don't need to be natural at it to get it. It takes a lot of time, and I'm there to kind of encourage and inspire others who are not so athletic, maybe,
Hmm.
to keep pursuing martial arts.
So how far in advance do you record like how far in advance do you start testing a move out in sparring that you're gonna record about? So like when you did the Sean O'Malley video and you did like the fake spinning back kick to across, like if you're gonna post that video on a Friday, when do you start sparring and trying that move out, recording it?
I have a notebook that I have like I have a lot of video ideas, like
Hmm.
endless, and then I'll say like during the time that I was filming Sean O'Malley, I probably had Dustin Poirier techniques in the back of my head, George Masvidal, and Peter Yan.
Hmm.
So those are the guys that I plan to release in the next month or a few weeks. And I go into a sparring session and I try to remember which combos that I'm trying to work on. Or like that round, I'm like, I'm going to do Sean O'Malley. And then the second round, I'm going to do Dustin Poirier. The thing is, I don't, sometimes I'm forced to because sometimes like COVID-19 hit and I wasn't able to spar as much. But I try to take my time and get as much footage and different sessions as well, like, different outfits and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it takes me maybe a minimum a month to 3, 4 months to make a video. It really depends.
Hmm.
To edit it doesn't take long. It's finding the right sparring footage. And, sometimes I'm doing Muay Thai sparring, so I can't try the MMA takedowns that Peter Yan does, for example,
Hmm.
or Jorge Masvidal.
Do you think that like studying all these different guys and especially more sparring, the amount of people you do, like you just put out a video sparring the pro fighters from Germany or sparring fighters in Thailand, do you think that directly impacts your MMA performance and your coaching? Does it improve more fighting than coaching, more coaching than fighting? What I feel like that would benefit a lot of people seeing as many different looks as you do. Where do you think that that impacts you the most?
Just putting it out there, you mean, or
No, like actually like sparring with these guys, like seeing how different camps do different things because it's even though you might not be at that camp, you're still sort of experiencing what they teach with that fighter. So it's sort of like a form of cross training, and you get to see a lot of different ideologies. So how do
gotcha.
you think that directly impacts you and your performance?
I definitely think it benefits me greatly. Like I believe in cross training.
Mhm.
I've traveled all around Asia, and they all do training differently. And I got exposed to many different fighters, UFC fighters, one championship fighters, different weight classes, and everyone's very different. And I learned a lot from just being exposed to those guys. Uh, TriStar does things differently. Um, Korea does completely different, and uh, yeah,
Yeah, it's something a lot of people I think wish that they could have is being able to, and it's something a lot of people don't realize, including myself. So I just moved a few weeks ago from Illinois to Wisconsin, and in Illinois I was only at one gym, and then I moved here and I switched gyms, and it's like seeing the same move but from a different teacher's perspective or different student's perspective. It really like it opened my eyes to see that there's really like millions of ways to do one specific thing and it's like do you do you prepare for that like being able to see different looks when you're sparring like okay I'm gonna look and see how he throws this combo compared to how this guy throws this combo like do you try and pick out specific things from specific people how do you sort of like how do you gather the knowledge from the people that you spar with or train with or get taught by.
I do that more so from analyzing other fighters through video and then
Mhm.
trying them out. Uh, I get asked quite often, like, if I throw my jab this way or if I do it this way, is it wrong or is it wrong? And I always say, like, it's hardly ever wrong.
Yeah,
You know, people used to say it's wrong to fight with your hands down, but
yeah,
now we're seeing it all the time. It just depends on your style and your preference. Uh, Even if a technique looks sloppy or different, it's MMA. So I rarely do you hear me say it's wrong. It's just different, and it depends on if some people can pull one thing and maybe this other person can't. It really just
yeah.
depends on your reach, your distance control. So I would say by copying UFC fighters, I'm able to try their moves and I see if it works for me, and I simply discard it if it doesn't work for me, or I'll add it to my arsenal if it does work for me. And I would say um, fighters that have influenced me the most and I've taken, something from them and added to my arsenal would be like Jose Aldo, the way he
Mhm.
throws his low kicks, Dominic Cruz's footwork, TJ Dillashaw's high kicks. Um, the list goes on. And I
Yeah.
kind of just pick and choose and add to my arsenal.
So is like studying film a big part of your routine? How often do you study film for like if you have do you do it during a fight camp? Do you do it when you have more sparring? When is your like you have like a prime sort of studying period that you focus on?
I learn the most when I'm making a video, when I'm content creating, actually, because when I'm making a video, it forces me to study and really know exactly what he's doing so I can practice it out in my sparring. I
Mhm.
learn the most when I'm not in fight camp. When I have a fight coming up, I'm focused on doing only the things that I'm best at doing.
Yeah.
So if I'm sparring for a fight or I'm sparring hard, I'm not going to be trying no Sean O'Malley move. I'm going to probably get knocked out. I'm going
Yeah.
to be doing what works for me and what I'm the best at already. Whereas if I'm going on a casual day of sparring, it's not a hard sparring, it's just a regular sparring. I'm having fun, I'm being a martial artist. Then that's where I try out and test out these new moves because I don't care if I miss I don't care if I miss, I'm not going to get hurt.
Yeah.
So I would say that's the biggest difference between being a martial artist and a fighter. If I'm always fighting, I'm not really having fun. But right now, I don't have a fight coming up. I'm going in. I'm just having fun and being a martial artist, trying new things, slowly adding to my arsenal.
What do you think separates that great fighter from that great coach? Because not all fighters make great coaches. Not all coaches make great fighters. Where is that difference? Is it a mindset difference? Is it knowledge? How do you experience? What do you think that difference is between coach and between student?
I would say knowledge and experience, but also the ability to break it down and you break down techniques. And more importantly, a coach knows that, how to explain it. Um, Essentially, a fighter is sometimes successful because of their natural athleticism. A coach understands that you can't rely on that speed and power to be successful. Like the student may not have that speed, and a coach is able to adapt with each and every fighter. And the coach should be able to know that this style can work for you, it may not work for you. And just because my style works for me, it may not work for you. So you're a terrible coach if you think that your style has to work for that person. And that's why it's so fun trying out different moves, because what this move that works for this fighter doesn't work for me, and I need to be able to adapt to every fighter.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it too. And I think that's a reason that'll make you a successful coach and successful in owning your own gym is because, you do see so many techniques and so many different things. And it's like, even if you sort of disregard it and like, okay, I know this won't work for me, maybe in 5 years when you have a student, like that'll work for him. And I think that gives you a good advantage and a lot of knowledge. And I think a lot of people want to learn from you and take in that information from you. And they're already doing it. They're already doing it from your YouTube videos. So you're definitely on a good coaching path.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Um, do you have any like routines that you sort of stick to? I know me personally, I'm like a routine guy. I have to have a routine to get all my things done. So, it's a Monday. Jeff just wakes up. What's your day looking like?
I wake up and I train at noon till about 2 o'clock.
Hmm.
um, I come back home. I'll start to edit, and if I have a buddy that wants to come over, then I'll have a second session. Sometimes I'll drive into the gym, but right now at the current gym I'm training at, it's about like 45 minutes away. So um, I usually just go in once a day. Uh, COVID-19 really messed up my schedule. Like I just came back from Washington, and when you come back from the States, you need to quarantine for 2 weeks.
Mm,
So I actually just got back into consistent training. It's only been a week, but yeah, I try to train every day. If I don't train if I don't train one day, I start to kind of go crazy.
yeah.
um, I try to, or I'm fortunate to have my fiance come in with me one session a week to film my sparring.
Hmm.
Um, I try to film every sparring session. That way I can really analyze everything I'm doing. Yeah.
Do you what's your recovery process look like? You train a lot. It's sort of something I've become really obsessed with and something I ask a lot of people because a lot of people do it differently. And, how do you recover from, some hard training or after a long week of fighting? Are you ice bath guy? Do you just like to I don't know if you're a meditation guy. I love meditation and breath work and all that stuff. What's your recovery process look like?
I've actually, I have a problem with not resting enough. I don't think
Mhm.
I rest enough, that to a point where I might be overtraining, especially for like my last fight camp. Um, I try to I try to just train even though I'm sore or like too sore.
Mhm.
Um, and then like when I'm injured, I don't rest, and it just gets worse and worse. But I would say like the simple things that I do is like foam roll a lot. I have like those massage guns
Mhm.
that really help.
Yeah,
sleep.
I was been looking into those massage
Yeah,
guns. They help, you said?
they're amazing. They're amazing.
Okay.
Sleep, eat. I don't take ice baths to be honest.
Mhm.
um, I've actually recently decided to take supplements.
Yeah,
So like
so I was just about to ask you that.
out of my 13, 14 years of martial arts training, I've never taken supplements just because I didn't want to be dependent on them.
Mhm.
But then I noticed that like every fighter that I follow or know does take at least protein or some sort of supplement. So I decided I'd try it out because I'm getting older and my knees are starting to hurt. My lower back
Mhm.
hurts. They're obviously from injuries, but um, I decided I decided to try it out and see how it feels. And because I'm training more and I do this full time now, I thought the supplements will make a difference. I've only been maybe 1 week on it now since
Mhm.
September 1st actually, so 7 days. Uh, I'm looking forward to seeing the changes it'll make.
Yeah, do you do daily stretching? How often do you stretch? Do you do any stretching, any mobility work? How does that look for you?
I actually now stretch every day. I try to do this as far as I can in splits every day, at least
Mhm.
once a day. I've actually had a very big issue with flexibility. Um, guys who used to train, or sorry, guys who've trained karate or taekwondo when they're younger, they're just so naturally flexible and they don't have to
Yeah,
put any effort and they're just super flexible. For
not
me,
me.
not me either. I'm so tight.
Yeah,
Like I
so
never
am I.
stretch. Yeah, when I was younger, I've never stretched. And I need to be really warm for me to even be somewhat flexible. And
Yeah,
I've been working really, really hard on getting more flexible, but I still can't even like hold my leg up. Like, those karate guys where they just like hold it up.
yeah.
I've actually been trying to work on a lot of karate style kicking.
Hmm.
I really appreciate the way they snap their kicks. And yeah, flexibility is tough. But now I'm trying to stretch at least once a day before training or after training.
Yeah, that's sort of where I'm at too, is I noticed like around a month and a half ago that it's like, okay, this is like my flexibility was getting to a point where it's like it was severely limiting my performance in jujitsu and everything. And it's like you said, like I have to be really warm, like a round in of sparring to like
Mhm.
be able to hold a roundhouse kick up or like
Yeah,
even get it up there and have control over it. And it's a lot of people don't realize like you don't have to be a martial artist. You could just be somebody who works a regular job. Like stretching will truly impact how you feel. Like stretching
yeah,
before bed, like a lot people have normalized like getting up in the morning and feeling terrible or getting
yeah,
home from work and your back hurts and you're doing this in your chair all day
yeah.
and like I think stretching is something that will definitely benefit a lot of people in the long run. And I know you have a good video. I believe it's how to kick higher. Is that the video I'm thinking
Might be
of?
called that. Yeah, it's my stretch
It's
routine, I believe.
yeah, something along the lines of your mobility and stretching. And
Yeah.
I took a lot of stuff from that with the bands that you do behind the back and you
Mhm.
attach them to the feet. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, that helps a lot. I actually do things a bit differently now. Um, in that video, I would hold the stretch and just keep holding it for like 2 minutes. But
Hmm.
now what makes the biggest difference and it's gotten me more flexible is I'll hold the stretch for about a minute and
Hmm.
then I'll, stand back up and I'll let my muscles rest for at least a minute. And in between, if I have my gun with me, I'll massage it and then I'll go back down for a second set and repeat that for 3 or 4 sets. And every time I rest and let my muscles, I guess, recover, I can go way further the second, third set. Whereas if you just hold it once, you can't go nearly as far as if you get out of the stretch and then repeat.
Yeah, it's I just think I don't know. I think it's such a huge thing that people don't even realize. Like especially if you're a martial artist or if you're a wrestler or jujitsu, you're back and you're sitting like this or you're hunched over and it's I don't know. It's something that's overlooked for sure.
Yeah, and I'm always editing, so I need to like
Yeah,
stretch out my back. I'm even
yeah,
like I have terrible posture right now, to be honest. Gotta fix my back.
yeah. What are your so along with stretching, recovery, stuff like that, what's some advice you have for people just starting in martial arts? Or what's the difference in advice you would give somebody who's starting it for fun and somebody starting it to fight? What
Sorry, was this a stretching tips or just advice
just
in general?
martial arts in general?
I would just recommend finding a gym and listening to your coach, just attending class. Consistency is my thing
Hmm.
with life in general, not just martial arts training, but like, say you're trying to start a YouTube channel, say you're doing podcasts. It's all about consistency. Um, yeah, I'm very big on consistency and watch YouTube videos. You can learn so much from YouTube. I've learned so much from YouTube.
Yeah.
Like just the other day, yesterday, I was on YouTube watching K Guard. It's crazy because there's so many different styles of jiu-jitsu, and with my gym, we never touched on leg locks at all.
Hmm.
And then I went to go train with Ryan Hall for his fight camp, and it's like
Wow.
completely different there. And all
Yeah.
they do is 50-50, and they were putting me in positions 50-50, and I've never been in that position, and I was just getting
Yeah.
my ass beat. Uh, yeah, so I went back home and went on YouTube, and I started, I learned a lot at 50-50, but I furthered my understanding by training, or not training, watching YouTube.
So you have a tradition, you started off originally in jiu-jitsu, correct?
Yeah.
And you were in that for a
Well, I
certain.
started with Muay Thai, and then 4 years after training Muay Thai, I did Jiu Jitsu.
Okay, and then you're a brown belt now.
Yeah.
Do you compete in jiu-jitsu? Do you have plans on competing?
I competed as a white belt,
Hmm.
but I didn't really, not that I didn't enjoy it. My focus in competition was more so like fighting, like
Hmm.
punching, kicking. So
Yeah.
I competed in Muay Thai. And then one day, my coach at the time was like, hey, you should, uh, I had about 24 or something amateur Muay Thai fights. And then he was like, you should go pro in MMA. And I'm like, but I'm a white belt in jiu-jitsu. Like I don't train
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu. And then I just went ahead and did it anyways. And luckily for the first fight, I won by TKO. Like I didn't even go to the ground. But then I started really focusing on jiu-jitsu.
When you were doing Muay Thai, were you traveling fighting at that point? Were you just sticking around in Canada? Where were your?
At that time, I was, how old was I? Like 21. So that was like 7 years ago. I hadn't started the YouTube channel,
Mm,
so I hadn't cross trained at all. I trained at just one gym. I only started training all over the place when I started the YouTube channel because I want to vlog my training and
mm,
show others an inside look at different gyms.
yeah. What so you sort of touched on this a bit in the previous question I asked, but what would your advice be for somebody who just is starting out on YouTube and wants to take sort of the approach you're taking with creating and documenting, somebody like myself? What's the advice you have for those people?
What's the topic though? I think every topic is different. Is it like tutorials? Is it a podcast? Is it vlogging? What's the
We'll go with tutorials. Like how do you make your tutorials stick out? Not yours
uh
specifically. I mean, we sort of talked about yours specifically,
yeah.
but like, you know, how do you focus on making somebody's tutorial videos stick out?
The thumbnail plays a big role. The title plays a big role, and just being genuine, I would say, is the most important thing. And everyone has their own way of being genuine. And
Mhm.
as we've discussed already, my way of being genuine is showing my real time sparring, showing my failed attempts and my successful attempts. Um, for others, I encourage everyone to film their sparring, not only for their YouTube channel, but just to be able to analyze what they're
Yeah.
doing and seeing what you look like. Um, but I would say being consistent is one of the biggest things, especially at the beginning. Like growing this channel was a very, very slow one. And I was not lucky, but at the time I was focused on law enforcement. So I didn't really care about the numbers. I didn't look at the numbers. I was just growing the channel, um, thinking it's just a side thing. It's just my little collection of training. When I learn something new, I'll teach it, and it's kind of like my own little journal.
Yeah.
And then, but my main focus was law enforcement. But then, when things didn't work out with law enforcement, my channel had got to a point where I'm like, hey, I could maybe do something out of it, and I'll just put more time into it. Uh, so just know that the growth is super slow and it's super easy to be discouraged. I would say I've probably inspired at least 5 to 7 friends that I can name off the top of my head to start their own channel.
Yeah.
And I told
Me
them,
included.
okay, well, there you go,
Yeah.
and they do start their channel and all of them stop.
Yeah.
right? Because they think they tell me like, oh, I know it's a slow start, and then like 3 months in, they're seeing very very slow growth, and they just stop, and they're discouraged. They're not motivated. But you just gotta keep going. Like my growth was very slow.
So when did it initially start sort of gaining traction and you could sort of see it like sort of taking off a bit and knowing like, okay, this is sort of like this is good. This is getting to where I want it to be or where you didn't expect it to be.
I think it took about a year and a half.
And what was that for you? Like what was that number for you or what was that like when did you know that at a year and a half in?
I think it was like 6 or 7 thousand. I
So
think
6, 7,000 and you were like,
I could
okay,
be
this
wrong. I
is
could be wrong, but I saw that the numbers were growing,
mhm,
and I saw that there were a lot of positive comments. I would say the main thing that was like, hey, I maybe can do something is the positive comments. If people like my stuff, I'm sure in time more people will like my stuff.
yeah.
Right now, I would say the majority of my comments are positive, which really motivates me. But
Mhm.
sometimes, or a lot of times, there's hate. But I could care less now because I know that I've helped a lot of people around the world and people want to see my stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe at the beginning, if there were more hate, then maybe I'd be like, oh, I suck. And people don't like my stuff. And maybe that would discourage me. But I guess I saw a lot of positive comments from the beginning, which already gave me the sign that, like, hey, my stuff does help people. So I
Mhm.
should continue doing it.
Yeah, and it's building that fan base too,
Yeah.
because now that you have that fan base, like when you signed to one championship, I think everybody was going nuts, like
Yeah.
finally getting to see you sort of on a high level and getting to cheer you on and support you. And obviously you did amazing in your debut fight
Thank you.
and it went how you wanted it to. Um, What were you getting? What was the feedback you got from that fight and, from your fan base? How did you feel the support behind you? Did you see all the people that were excited? Take how did you take sort of what your fans were giving you and your support base?
Um, I definitely had a lot of support. A lot of people were really excited to
Mhm.
watch the fight, and especially when the results came in, people were like, I knew you could do it." I don't know. It was just a great time.
Yeah,
Um,
I can imagine.
yeah, I don't have much to comment on that. It's just people were very supportive. Yeah.
Do you have sort of a timeline for your next fight coming up? Do you know you just
I'm
can't
just
say or
I'm just waiting, to be honest. I thought that like once I finally signed with a big organization, it would kind of be like this is when you're fighting and give you a set date, but it's not like that at all.
Mhm.
I haven't heard from them since COVID. I'm sure COVID is the big reason why. I also heard from Liam Harrison. He made like a post saying like, I haven't retired, guys. I'm just probably not fighting because uh, Americans who have to go to Asia need to
Mhm.
quarantine for 2 weeks, and all their events are in Asia. So
Yeah.
I think that's the reason why they're not bringing any American fighters over or having any fights for Americans. I think I don't know if that's actually the case, but it makes sense.
Yeah. Do you
But right now, I'm
go
just
ahead.
I'm just waiting. But I'm at the same time I'm not in a rush to fight. Like I'm happy doing what I'm doing right now.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah.
I don't really notice this until sort of right now. Do you think that that you traveling and training you just traveling around the world and training, do you think that sort of gives you an advantage over people more so like Americans who fight in one championship like because traveling to fight is got to be hard like especially going from America or Canada to Asia. Do you think that traveling and training gives you an advantage from traveling to like new territory that people may not know and then fighting? And so do you think having sort of like what it's like to get off a plane and then go train hard somewhere or something like that, do you think that that really gives you a true advantage?
I don't think so. I think there's a lot of fighters out there who have traveled across the world to fight. Um, like just because it's not Asia, I have my coaches who's fought in like Abu Dhabi and
Mhm.
been all around the world as well. And I've only traveled once to fight, so it's not. I mean, it's a great experience, and I've learned from it. But I don't think it gives too much of an advantage.
All right. Well, I think we're going to start wrapping this up. I think we've hit everything
Perfect.
we wanted to hit. So thank you. It was a huge honor to have you on. I'm super excited to post this and to get you on. Um,
Perfect. Thank you for having me, Dominic.
yeah,
It
of
was nice
course.
chatting to you, and I encourage you to keep up with what you're doing. And if you're thinking of doing tutorials, you should definitely start it. And if you have any questions, just feel free to message me. I'd love to stay in touch with you.
Yeah, thank you. I will for sure. It was
Cool.
great seeing you. This podcast should be up today, Monday the 7th, and we're gonna end this here. So yeah, thank you again.
Okay, you have a good one, Dominic.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
See ya. Guys, so that was Jeff Chan from MMA Shredded. Awesome talking to him. I hope you guys learned something from this. That was episode 3. We're gonna wrap this up. Thank you for. Oh, also, tie-dye shirts will be available coming soon. You'll be able to get one from me and my sister. So yeah, thank you guys for listening, and peace out.